Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got an incredibly packed agenda today, and I am genuinely so excited to guide you through it. Because the sources we're looking at, they paint a vivid, honestly, almost unprecedented picture of a world undergoing massive structural changes, all at exactly the same time. We're talking about a global landscape shifting literally right beneath our feet, from escalating economic battles to redrawn alliances, and finally, a really profound cultural farewell. There is a whole lot of ground to cover, so let's just jump right in and see how all these complex pieces fit together. Okay, let's dive into this. First up, we're looking at a geopolitical August, then Operation Economic Outcast, followed by the US-Canada trade war. After that, we'll check out some shifting global alliances, and finally, we'll spend some time remembering Dolly Parton. We are going to journey from intense, high-stakes global friction all the way to the loss of a truly unifying cultural icon. Section 1. A geopolitical August. The domino effect. Now, to really grasp everything unfolding right now, we've got to set the historical stage. You know, it's pretty easy to think of late summer as a quiet time for global affairs, right? People are on vacation. But as our policy backgrounder reveals, historically, August is a month of intense global shifts. It perfectly contextualizes today's rapid developments. Think about it. From the outbreak of World War I back in 1914 to the 1990 invasion of Kuwait, history tells us that August is remarkably prone to intense geopolitical and military domino effects. And looking at August 2026, yeah, it is absolutely no exception. We are seeing this historical pattern repeat itself in real time. Moving on to Section 2, Operation Economic Outcast, Isolating Iran. This first major shift takes us straight to the Middle East, where the U.S. Treasury just launched a massive, unprecedented campaign against Iran. Just listen to the sheer gravity of this policy. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stated, "Our objective is to sever every economic lifeline that sustains this tyrannical regime until Tehran stands alone." I mean, wow, he actually dubbed this Operation Economic Outcast, describing it as a sort of economic D-Day. The goal here is aggressive and clear: completely isolate Iran from the global financial system. Now, what's really interesting about this is the absolute precision of the operation. The Treasury isn't just throwing out blanket statements. They are meticulously targeting 5 distinct sectors of Iran's economy: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, and shipping. To enforce what they're calling a zero-leakage approach, over 60 multinational companies and vessels have been slapped with secondary sanctions. Basically, if you touch Iranian oil or facilitate their finances, you are cut out of the US dollar system entirely. And we are already seeing the devastating ground truth of these policies. 350%, 350%. That staggering number represents the hyperinflation that is currently crippling the Iranian economy as a direct result of these economic pressures. Their currency has completely plummeted. It's really a textbook example of how modern financial architecture can be weaponized to bring a national economy to its knees, all without firing a single conventional weapon. But, you know, every action has a reaction. The U.S. strategy relies on these secondary boycotts and the very real threat of kinetic strikes near the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian response? Well, they are pushing back fiercely. They've threatened to impose illegal maritime tolls on ships passing through the strait. And shockingly, Iranian state media released a video placing a $10 million bounty on 20-year-old Barron Trump. We are watching a deeply dangerous framing war where neither side is showing any willingness to back down. Section 3. U.S.-Canada Trade War, the Retaliation. Let's shift our focus back here to North America, where trade talks between Ottawa and Washington have dramatically, and I mean dramatically, collapsed. So the crucial point is this exact quote from Canadian Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne, dollar for dollar, rate for rate. Following the U.S. decision to slap 50% tariffs on Canadian goods, Canada is firing back with a proportionate, targeted response. They've made it crystal clear they won't just take the hit. Just look at the massive scale of this. $27.6 billion. That is the value of U.S. imports that are now going to face retaliatory Canadian duties. This isn't just a minor diplomatic spat. This is a multi-billion-dollar economic battle that is going to ripple through supply chains, hitting businesses, workers, and, for sure, everyday consumers. And these Canadian tariff targets are incredibly specific. We're talking steel, aluminum, furniture, clothing, cheese, appliances, and seafood. These counter tariffs range anywhere from 15% to a whopping 50%. Acknowledging the absolute pain this is going to cause at home, the Canadian government also rolled out a $7.5 billion aid package for their own workers caught in the crossfire.
Section 4. Shifting Global Alliances, Syria and Armenia. While North America is fragmenting economically, the geopolitical map in Europe and the Middle East is being actively redrawn.
Let's move to and see how this builds across our timeline. Back in 1979, Syria was placed on the U.S. terror list. For 47 years, they sat there alongside nations like North Korea. But fast forward to July 2026, President Trump notified Congress of his intent to lift that label. And now, in August 2026, the U.S. has formally rescinded Syria's terror designation. This is a massive, massive policy reversal. By removing Syria from this list, the U.S. is eliminating the major barriers for private sector investment. Why? Well, it fulfills a U.S. promise to reward Syria's new post-Assad leader, Ahmed al-Sharaa, for actively distancing the country from international terrorism. The goal now is economic recovery and global reintegration.
Meanwhile, over in the Caucasus, Armenia is executing its own strategic pivot. They are officially leaving the Russian-led Collective Security Treaty Organization, or CSTO. And they aren't just leaving, they're preparing to formally apply for European Union membership. This is an absolutely historic geopolitical shift away from Russia's orbit and directly toward the West.
But naturally, Moscow is not thrilled. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov issued a stark warning, stating, Armenia's departure from the CSTO may trigger deep trade contradictions that will primarily harm Armenia. It's a very clear threat regarding Armenia's new trajectory. For Armenia, this pivot is a massive geopolitical gamble. Okay. In a week of deep global divisions, what does it actually take to unite us? We've just walked through trade wars, economic strangulation, shifting military pacts. It's a lot of friction. So it kind of begs this quiet question. What brings us together? Usually, it takes an icon. Section 5. Remembering Dolly Parton, a cultural icon. This week, we got the deeply sad news of the passing of the undisputed queen of country music. Dolly Parton has passed away at the age of 80. She leaves behind an astonishing 65-year legacy that completely transcended music, reaching into homes and hearts all across the globe. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly who she was. She once famously said, "Get past the boobs and listen to what I have to say because I think I can make us all a bunch of money." I mean, that is just classic Dolly, right? Unapologetic wit combined with a remarkably savvy business mind. She never took herself too seriously, but she absolutely demanded respect for her intellect and her talent.
Her legacy is literally staggering. 11 Grammy Awards, she wrote iconic hits like 9 to 5 and I Will Always Love You. But beyond the music, she founded the Imagination Library, giving hundreds of millions of books to kids. She even received a $100 million Courage and Civility Award for her philanthropy. She was so much more than just a performer. She was a genuine force for good.
The universal respect she commanded was just incredible. President Trump actually ordered U.S. flags at federal installations to be lowered to half-staff for an entire week, calling her death a true loss for millions of people. It really goes to show how she united politicians and everyday citizens alike in mourning. As geopolitical fault lines deepen and we lose the icons that once united us, how will these historic shifts redefine our global future? We're watching the world reorder itself, while simultaneously saying goodbye to the cultural touchstones that gave us shared ground. It's a complex world out there, and understanding it structurally is just the first step. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Explainer to unpack all of this. Stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.